Freemasonry, one of the world's oldest fraternities. For centuries, this fraternity was concealed in secrecy and mystery. But most importantly, it was dominated by men. And its age-old traditions remain literally unchanged, especially in the United States, all up until now.
The most worshipful, the Grand Master, Christine Chapman.
For almost 250 years, men in the United States presided over their own lodges, thus dominating this great experiment of Freemasonry. But this day, the time for change has come for women. The Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons of the United Kingdom has consecrated America Lodge number 57, the first women's regular Masonic lodge in the United States, taking this Masonic experiment to the next level. The consecration of our lodge in 2019 is marking the centenary of the passage by the United States Congress of the legislation that became, in 1920, the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, giving women in America the right to vote.
The earth is the Lord's, and all that therein is the compass of the world, and they that dwell therein.
The Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons, or HFAF, made this historic journey to bring for the first time the light of women's regular Freemasonry to the shores of the United States.
This event, this momentous event, came about because Akram Elias, past Grand Master of Washington, D.C., and his wife Lou were most keen that Lou should form a lodge of women Freemasons, and so they went to the United Grand Lodge of England to ask for their help, and the United Grand Lodge of England pointed them towards us, and that's the rest, they say, is history. Brethren, we are assembled on the present occasion for the purposes of consecrating a new lodge. I, therefore, in obedience to the power vested in me, call upon our very worshipful brother Grand Secretary to state the wishes of the brethren and the proceedings they have taken with respect to the lodge.
My dear and most worshipful Grand Master, the prospective members of the proposed America Lodge number 57 are desirous of being formed into a regular lodge. They pray the most worshipful Grand Master will favourably receive this petition and accordingly grant them a charter.
I'm here in Washington because we have just consecrated the first ever regular women's lodge in USA, and this is a very significant occasion, not only for us but also for the country.
To be regular in its practice of Freemasonry, a lodge must be consecrated and given a charter by a regularly constituted Grand Lodge.
This is the first ever regular women's lodge, and the workings are very comparable to those of the United Grand Lodge of England.
The concept of regularity in Freemasonry has evolved over time. Today, regular women Freemasonry requires the adherence to certain key criteria. 1. Admit women only in our ranks. 2. Require a belief in a supreme being by the woman petitioner. 3. The presence of the three great lights in Freemasonry on the altar of each lodge. The volume of the sacred law, the square, and the compasses. 4. One cannot engage in political debates nor religious activities in tiled lodge meetings. And 5. No intervisitation with regular men lodges in tiled meetings. Open lodge activities, social events, and the mutual usage of respective lodge halls are all acceptable.
I scatter corn on this lodge as a symbol of plenty and abundance, and may the blessings of morality and virtue increase under its auspices and produce fruit an hundredfold.
Glory be to thee, O God.
I pour wine on this lodge as a symbol of joy and cheerfulness.
Glory be to thee, O God.
I pour oil on this lodge as a symbol of peace and unanimity.
Glory be to thee, O God.
To God and His service we dedicate this lodge in memory of the three original Grand Masters under whose auspices our Masonic mysteries had their origin.
I scatter salt upon this lodge, an emblem of hospitality and friendship, and may prosperity and happiness attend this lodge until time shall be no more.
Glory be to thee, O God.
Freemasonry is an initiatic society that uses a peculiar system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols, with the aim of graduating free builders, better selves, and better communities.
Freemasonry is not a social club, it's not a philosophical society, it's an initiatic society whose aim is to help its members transform themselves into free individuals first, become builders or better selves second, and advancers of the human condition third. The main stages of the Initiatic Path in regular Freemasonry are introduced to the initiate through a system of 3 degrees: Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and Master Mason. Each degree is designed to open different doors down the Initiatic Path into the world of the subconscious, so that by the 3rd degree, a woman would emerge as a free builder. In that process, each degree provides a set of tools and conveys teachings that make deep and lasting impressions on the mind of the Freemason.
The 1st degree represents birth, being born into the light of the world, and your journey through Freemasonry begins with an initiation, and it is the 1st stage in Freemasonry. The 2nd degree represents your adult life, but it enjoins you to see to your education, to make sure that you understand all about arts and sciences and the virtues and the moralities of life, and to further yourself, to seek always to improve your education and your knowledge. The 3rd degree represents the end of life, a journey towards death. And so we hope that the candidates, by listening to what is said to them and what is represented to them in the ceremony, go away and ponder that when the time comes that they will die regretted, having lived respected.
These stages of internal transformation are referred to as the Initiatic Path, a journey that a Freemason charts for herself and of her own free will and accord with the aid of the teachings of our society.
In the New World, Freemason men shaped the face of the United States of America.
The Great American Experiment refers to the system of governance that the Founding Fathers of the United States established in this country. Is it possible for individuals coming from different countries, speaking different languages, believing in different religions, can they come together, govern themselves by themselves without needing a monarch to rule over them? Benjamin Franklin, the Grand Master of Masons of Philadelphia and one of the Founding Fathers of the United States, basically said, unless we experiment in this new world and try from scratch, we shall never know whether this is possible. So let us launch the great experiment. Freemasonry, through its lodge system, communicates some fundamental teachings to each and every member of the fraternity, surrounding two key points. Number one, how does a free person operate? And what does freedom mean? And second, how do free people come together to build together and govern themselves together without needing somebody from the outside to govern them? These two streams, fundamental teachings in Freemasonry, translated automatically, immediately into the Constitution of the United States, and more specifically, Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, by introducing 5 natural rights, natural, that is innate, given to the individual, and no law can be made in the United States that would limit or eliminate any of these 5. First one being freedom of speech, so the individual can be free to speak. Second is the freedom to assemble and associate, to create a new construct of community, what we call civil society. Third is freedom of the press, so civil society organizations can then engage in educational efforts, awareness campaigns, sensitizing, etc. Fourth, freedom of religion. It's a natural right. That is the reason why there has never been a Ministry of Religion or Religious Affairs in the United States, and we separate religion and state to protect religion from the state. And the last one is the natural right to petition government for redress of grievances. The new citizens of this country would need to be ready, equipped, have the right tools for them to be able to apply this great experiment to their governance on a day-to-day basis in this new country. So the lodge was the place where they would learn how to be tolerant of one another, how to respect one another, but not simply coexist, but build, because they had to govern the lodge together. So when it came to establishing the United States, Americans across the 13 founding states were more ready.
An experiment is always in the making, so each generation of Americans has to labor hard to make the experiment always more inclusive. For example, Americans fought a horrible civil war to abolish slavery, amended the Constitution to grant women the right to vote, and passed the 1964 Civil Rights Act to end segregation.
It's very important for a woman to become a Freemason for a number of reasons. First, in the United States, women are still learning to juggle the different duties they're expected to fulfill. So building a deeply rooted sense of confidence is very essential. Unfortunately, while the usual self-help trainings and confidence-building workshops are useful to a certain degree, their impact remains at a surface. It is the Initiatic Path pursued in women's Freemasonry that provides the woman with a powerful, transformative self of unshakable confidence, impossible to describe in words. Secondly, as women increasingly ascend to positions of leadership and responsibility in business and government, civil society, women's Freemasonry provides the teachings and the tools to help them build a stronger, wiser, more beautiful, and more just society. And thirdly, women in our country need to take the great experiment that we call America to this next level. This great experiment in human governance, deeply rooted in the teachings of Freemasonry, though revolutionary, has been dominated by men and has reached a plateau. So we need women Freemasons to advance our unique experiment in governance to the next level.
Brother Meadows, what is the first care of every Freemason?
To see the lodge is properly tiled.
Brother Matthews, the next care?
To see that none but Freemasons are present.
Identity, brother. To order brethren as Freemasons. Brother Junior Warden, how many principal officers are there in the lodge?
3. The Worshipful Master, Senior and Junior Warden.
Brother Junior Warden, the position of the situation of the timer.
Outside the door of the lodge.
His duty.
Being on with the drawing floor to keep all found and intruders in Freemasonry and to see the candidates are properly prepared.
Brother Immediate Taskmaster, the Master's place in the lodge.
In the east.
Why is he so placed?
As the sun rises in the east to open the main light of the day, so is the worshipful Master placed in the east to open the lodge and employ and instruct the brethren in Freemasonry.
Brethren, the lodge being thus duly formed, before I declare it open, let us invoke the assistance of the great Architect of the universe in all our undertakings. May our labours thus begin in order, be conducted in peace, and closed in harmony.
So mote it be.
In the name of the great Architect of the universe, I declare this lodge duly open for the purpose of Freemasonry in the first degree.
Freemasonry is compatible with all religions, enabling men and women of different faiths and backgrounds to follow a common purpose of living a moral life for the good of themselves and others.
The Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons welcomes women of all religions, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists. And the idea is to bring women of different faiths together so we all learn to love each other, to respect each other, to work together, to be free builders, so we can build our inner temples and further build our societies and make it a better world.
Freemasonry has evolved over the centuries as a system of morality which enables people of different backgrounds and differing faiths to come together to lead a moral life for the good of themselves and hopefully the good of society.
But some might wonder, is it that simple and easy to join Freemasonry?
Well, the main requirements to join Freemasonry or regular Freemasonry universally is to be a good person, of good report, believe in a supreme being, to be of a minimum age, which can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the country.
Freemasons practice their beliefs and common values through charity as part of their Masonic teachings.
We have a very strong belief in benevolence, and as it is something that our members can participate in, but we believe that it's not just a question of raising money, it's giving of money, but giving of time and effort to help other people who need your help, not just charitable causes, but maybe people you come across in life who might need your assistance.
In regular Freemasonry, we have 3 tenets: brotherly love, relief, and truth. We are taught to provide relief to those who are in distress and in need, whether material, intellectual, or moral. But charity is the manifestation of brotherly love. It's that state of being that a Freemason strives to realize through this internal transformation she's undergoing. She's developing this practice of relief towards her fellow human beings as a second nature. It's charity that enables a Freemason to fulfill her obligation in advance of the human condition, without expecting anything in return.
It is often said that Freemasonry is a secret society with secret designs.
It's very often thought that we're doing something sinister or doing something perhaps mysteriously against the law.
I think they think that we're a cult.
Yes.
We're not a cult.
We're certainly not witches.
We are, and we're not a secret society.
We're a
society with secrets.
Freemasonry is not a secret society, although it operated like one when it first came to be in Europe several hundred years ago. By teaching its initiates to become free builders in countries that were ruled by tyrannical forms of government and tyrannical systems of belief, Freemasonry had to operate as a secret society to protect its members from persecution, torture, and death. However, as democratic republican forms of government emerged and as absolute monarchies were transformed into constitutional and parliamentary ones, Freemasonry evolved into a discrete society. The deeper meanings of secrecy in Freemasonry have to do with the virtue of observing silence, most essential to the Initiatic Path.
Brethren, Freemasonry is of heavenly birth. The pillars of wisdom and strength support it. The drawn sword protects it from the attacks of the insidious. The sword severs asunder the whispered word of dissension and teaches he who guards his tongue guards his soul.
To order, brethren. Almighty God, who alone maketh the souls of men to be of one mind, we beseech thee to bless both our dear countries. We beseech thee to bless our Grand Master and all this fraternity, that we may dwell in peace and concord, strength and prosperity, to the honour and glory of thy most holy name.
So mote it be.
Women's Freemasonry didn't begin with women listening behind closed doors or concealed in grandfather clocks. To find the beginning, you have to go to pre-revolutionary France, when men's lodges over there created feminine lodges of adoption. And in 1882, Maria de Reims, a well-known feminist writer, was invited to become a member of Loge des Libres Penseurs in Paris. And eventually it formed a new movement. This movement spread to United Kingdom in 1902 with Annie Besant, another feminist, and she brought it over and became its leader, and many men and women joined it. But some again desired to break away because they wanted it to be more regular, based along the lines of United Grand Lodge of England. So they broke away and formed the first grouping, which was the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons, and ancient is spelt with a T.
This evening's ceremony marks the 21st anniversary of the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons. This fraternity is modelled in miniature on the same lines as the Grand Lodge of England, possessing and working the same secrets, mysteries, degrees, and rituals. And it has the further distinction of being the only Masonic fraternity to be entirely organized by women for women.
In 1913, the suffragettes came into being, as we did, as we were a breakaway from the original Women's Freemasonry. And they joined us. They were under huge suffrage. And as you know, in the United States, the women were fighting for the vote at the same time as we were. And many of them joined our organization, and we were privileged to have those brave and courageous women.
They saw in Freemasonry a representation of their own ideals, and so they were very happy to join Freemasonry.
For us, in the last 105 years, we have developed, we now have lodges in London, in out of London, in the Isle of Man, in the north of England. We have 2 lodges in Spain, in Gibraltar, in Romania, in India, and now we've just consecrated the Washington Lodge in the United States of America.
Worshipful Master, I present Brother Elias, Master Designate of this lodge, to receive at your hands the benefit of installation.
Worshipful Brother, Installing Director of Ceremonies, I receive your presentation with much pleasure. Brethren, from time immemorial, it has been an established custom among Freemasons for each lodge, once in every year at a stated period, to select from its wardens and past wardens a skilled craftsman to preside over them in the capacity of master. She must have been regularly elected by the master, wardens and brethren in open lodge assembled, and presented to a board of installed masters to receive from a predecessor the benefit of installation, the better to qualify her for the discharge of the duties of that important trust. Master designate, you having been so selected and presented, I claim your attention while I recite the qualifications which are essential in every candidate for the master's chair. Firstly, every candidate for the office of master must be of good report, true and trusty, and held in high estimation among her brethren and fellows. Secondly, she must have been regularly initiated, passed, and raised in the established degrees of the order, well skilled in the noble science, and have duly served the office of warden in a regular lodge. Thirdly, she should be exemplary in conduct, easy of address, courteous in manner, steady and firm in principle, well skilled in the ancient charges, regulations, and landmarks of the order, able and willing to undertake the management of the work. Can you, my worthy brother, accept the mastership of this lodge under these qualifications?
I can, worshipful master.
Then I claim your attention for our brother secretary, who will read from the Book of Constitutions all those charges and regulations to all of which your unqualified assent is necessary, which you will signify by the sign of fidelity after each clause, slightly bowing the head in token of submission. Then you will advance to the east and take the solemn obligation of master designate.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Consecration Gala Celebration of America Lodge number 57, just newly consecrated this afternoon. Congratulations. Woohoo! We did it.
The most worshipful, the Grand Master, Christine Chapman.
This toast is to those visiting brothers and non-Masonic guests who honor us with their presence this evening. The most significant lesson I learned while in Freemasonry is that I am a builder of my own temple.
A woman is an icon of hope, love, and faith. So being a woman in Freemasonry is a special calling that offers the opportunity to grow in our learning, our work, our ways, and our thoughts.
Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren all. Everyone, this has been an amazing week for us, but it's been a historic week. As you've heard, this been the consecration of the first regular women's Freemasonic lodge in the United States of America.
For me to be a woman Freemason, it had to begin somewhere. And it all started with a journey that I started on. And I would say that it was at that moment that I listened to my heart. And it was when it was screaming, like with a burning desire for meaning. And it took me on, I would say, many paths and many roads until finally I've been led here. And I know that this is not the end of anything, and it's just the beginning of it all.
I wanted to be part of a women's group that could express themselves and become better in their lives, because being part of such a group is so helpful, and it leads us towards the truth.
Ladies, friends, it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce to you now the Grand Master of Free and Accepted Masons of Washington, D.C., Most Worshipful Brother Charbel T. Fahed.
As Grand Master of Masons of the Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia, I welcome you to the nation's capital. We here, the Lodge, America Lodge number 57, and us, we have the same goal: to fight against tyranny, against ignorance, against injustice, and we work together to stand for these principles.
From a personal standpoint, I'm continuously working on improving myself to better exemplify those virtues that Freemasonry teaches us. But in the grander scheme of things, I hope that we can grow this wonderful thing that we've created here.
I know how powerful and important fraternal organizations can be in fostering community and improvement of self, and so it seemed like something that would benefit me personally to grow and also just to get to know people in the city. DC can be kind of isolating sometimes, and so I'm surrounded by incredibly intelligent and capable and powerful women, and just to surround myself with that feels almost like, you know, I'm surrounded by so much support that I can achieve anything.
Look at the world around us and see the same old forces of darkness, ignorance, intolerance, and tyranny, rising once again in an attempt to enslave the human mind. The teachings of Freemasonry are needed more than ever to equip our society with the tools of resistance. But this time around, we need Freemasonry in its fullest force. It is regular women Freemasonry that brings that potential to fruition.
We decided to do a wreath laying here at Arlington Cemetery at the Women's Memorial on Memorial Day because it happened to coincide with our lodge consecration and installation ceremonies, and we're the first lodge in America that's part of the Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons, and we're the first regular lodge in the United States. This is our first public event, and as part of the event, we wanted to memorialize the occasion by remembering the women who gave their lives in service to this country.
I welcome each of you for joining with us on our 22nd observance of Memorial Day. I am Dee McWilliams, President of the Women's Memorial Foundation, and it's my honor to preside over this Memorial Day observance. The Freemasonry for Women, America Lodge number 57, is the very first regular women's Freemasons lodge in the United States. Their participation with us today is their first official ceremony to attend after they were consecrated as a lodge only on Saturday. So we're particularly pleased that you chose us and our honoring of service women for your first event. So thank you.
On behalf of the women Masons here present this afternoon, I stand humbly before you on this auspicious Memorial Day. This program marks the first public event of our new lodge, and we are truly honored to be here memorializing the women in uniform of the United States who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of the great experiment that we call America.
My hope for our lodge is that we can grow in the United States, and the concept of Freemasonry is about bringing light into the rest of the world.
Freemasonry provides an age-old, rich, and tested ecosystem for a woman to fulfill herself internally so that she may be better enabled to build with her fellow human beings more beautiful and stronger communities.
First, the initiation launches an inner transformational process that helps a woman become stronger, more beautiful, wiser from within. And that sense of inner stability is more valuable than gold. And secondly, the workings in a lodge of regular women Freemasons provides a sense of an incubator where we work hand in hand together, building bonds of friendship, becoming stronger. It's a safe space. And this is what we regular Freemasons call the mystic tie. There are many misconceptions about women's Freemasonry. Among them is the belief by so many people, especially male Freemasons, that women cannot become a Freemason, and that's just not factually true. There are two poles to humanity. There's male and there's female. If one is more advanced than the other, then the structure is skewed, you're missing. You have to equally balance the two, and each have to work in their own worlds because they're both distinctly different. And that's what we want. We want to develop both the feminine path and the masculine path. You know, like the white and the black, the positive and the negative, to balance society, to bring equilibrium to the scales of life.
Since the male and female are the two poles of humanity, Freemason architects embedded this duality in the design of Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. is a unique capital city because it was designed on a map with the intent that its architecture, layout, positioning of key buildings would reflect, using the language of symbolism, a philosophy of governance. The Capitol is considered a temple of liberty and the rule of the people, two essential elements of the great experiment. Pennsylvania Avenue is the most important avenue symbolically in the city. It is named after the state of Pennsylvania because it was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that the new form of governance was adopted. And it physically separates the White House, where the executive branch is headquartered, from the Capitol, the separation of powers. And that is the reason why it was along Pennsylvania Avenue that George Washington led a Masonic parade on September 18th, 1793, to lay the cornerstone of the Capitol Masonically.
Washington, D.C. is a unique capital city because it's filled with symbolism that comes primarily from Freemasonry. There are, however, specific aspects of symbolism that relate to the feminine aspect of Masonic mysteries. For example, the word Columbia in the name Washington, District of Columbia, does not refer to Christopher Columbus, but to the feminine aspect of creation. Pretty much as Marianne became the feminine personification of Republican France, and Britannia the one for the United Kingdom. Columbia is the feminine symbol of the United States of America as a new and great experiment in human governance. It is also said that the layout of the city and the positioning of some of its key landmarks are aligned with Virgo, the sacred feminine. It is interesting to point out that in regular Freemasonry, whether women or men, the study of astronomy is earnestly encouraged. Another example pertaining to feminine wisdom associated with the number 8, going back to the ancient Egyptian mysteries of the Society of Isis, is the building where the U.S. Supreme Court resides. It has 2 sets of 8 columns pointing to the need to balance feminine and masculine wisdom in order for American society to achieve true justice under the rule of law.
In 2026, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Great Experiment. The newly consecrated America Lodge for Women Freemasons marks a crucial step in taking this great experiment to the next level.
The women of America are eager to embrace the rigors of the Masonic tradition, and we at America Lodge number 57 admit good women who are thirsty for knowledge, willing to constantly improve themselves, and eager to continuously impact their communities for the betterment of mankind. America is known as the Great Experiment. From the time of its first settlers, it's been a place where people experiment with doing things differently. Our ancestors were explorers, adventurers, scientists, seekers who considered the impossible possible, with remarkable qualities of optimism, resilience, fortitude, and willingness to go into the unknown and make it their home, to make the amazing the norm. They defied the status quo. That's how America was built. Similarly, our America Lodge is blazing a new trail, where the women of America are at the frontier of a new stage in their human evolution. The opportunities are endless. Now more than ever, America needs the shining light of Freemasonry, and the women of America need to be an active part of Freemasonry. We need to speak with our own voices and provide equilibrium to better balance the scales of life.